Morning. Just wanted to do a complete walkthrough of the system one final time, so you'll be able to get a good understanding of its entire capabilities. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, start with the home page. Got some navigation buttons here and some menu buttons here. Basically, this first one, import ETA from Profit, is a work in progress. As soon as we're able to import a batch file programmatically from Profit, we would just click this. It would bring all the day's ETAs into the system. At the moment, it's not enabled. So we have to create a manual ETA. So let's create one now. Put the lot number in, supply name, you can either type it in or you can select from a list. And you put the container number or the airway bill in. And you would continue doing this for all of your arrivals. Until all of those are imported. Now, once you've done that, they then are able to populate the Cherry intake system. So we'll close that and we'll go into Cherry intake. Now, this is behind a user level password. And the first screen we see is just purely for static background data relating to the consignment. So all pallets that you subsequently QC will have this information attached to it. So here's the two lot numbers we just put in, and when we put that in, the other fields auto-populate. Okay, so we're going to go with, let's say, this one. Supply reference, if there's a supply reference with a consignment, send on the documentation, you could enter that. I mean, if you look at the supply reference and the country of origin, these could all be auto-populated and brought in from the batch file. I just don't know really at this time what the capabilities of exporting from Profit are. So I've left them blank purposefully at the moment, but it's a small little bit of coding to bring the other bits in as well, if necessary. So supply reference, let's just say that that's their supplier reference, their country of origin, and if there's a temperature recorder number, and the transit temp as per the temperature recorder. Don't need to put centigrade or Fahrenheit on there because the system automatically calculates that. So arrival temperature, it's your flesh temperature of your pallets. Now the balance of the questions are from drop-down menus. So is it organically certified? Is the liner bag sealed? How is it sealed? What is the pallet condition like? Is it okay or not okay? Are there any damaged cartons? Who is it checked by? If the QC's name isn't on here, you can just basically type it in here and it will populate it'll become part of the list next time round. So I'm just going to select myself, the box mark again. If the box mark is not here, then you can add it and it will populate the list next time round. Liner type, again, if it's not here, add it, it will be next time. And the box type, same again. So we've completed the background data for this arrival. We can now add scores. You can see that the lot numbers moved over to this screen. We now need to put a pallet number on. I'm making the assumption that a pallet is purely a lot item of the lot, so I'm going to call it that. However you do it, it doesn't matter, but it just needs to be some tie between here and here. So supplier number, if there's a pallet supplier number, you can add it there. If there's an actual grower name, I like the working caps lock on this. If there's a packing date code, this is intentionally not a specific date field because you might want to put in there, or you might just want to put a date code in there. Okay. So size coding, this is primarily at countries that don't use the metric system, like 24, 26 mil. They might use a row, 10 row, 8 row, or they might use 600, 700, 800. So I'm going to assume from Chile they're going to use an 800. Expected size, receive size, and in the variety you've got choices. You can either select from the huge long list of the correct variety, or easier, you can just type in here and it will self-complete. Color gives you the options. Firmness, select from the options. Flavor, again. Pack type, is it bags, punnets or loose? What are the average unit weights? It can be punnets, it can be bags, or it can be loose boxes. Whichever unit you're working with, you can just put in here. So let's assume it's a 5 kilo. So they're giving an extra 100 grams away in each box. The pallet temp, once again we're asking for pallet temp, but this is just in keeping with your current QC system. So let's just put this in here. Average bricks, well, you would have done your QC checks, and this will be your average found. Okay, now you can add parameters or leave them blank depending on whether they're there or not. So for instance, if you've got some bronzing, some internal breakdown and some pitting, but everything else is okay, excuse me, then you don't need to complete the rest. The system will auto complete on reports. Now, before you save, if you have an issue with bricks or with box weights or with sizing, you can add additional data before you save. If you just save and next, then you'll have to save it to the next pallet. It doesn't matter because you can relate to any pallet or give data on any pallet at any time. So make remarks if you need to. As I say, typically you'll be saving the next unless you want to add additional data. Excuse me. So I'm just going to add another pallet. So this will be pallet 2. Supplier number, grower, it's me again. Pack date, packed on the same day. Size coding. Say it's another 800, expected size 2830, received size 2830. It's another staccato. Colour, you can either select it or you can put the number in. So if I was to say 5 in here, it would automatically bring the 5 up. If I was to type 4 in here, it'll automatically bring the 4. So you don't need to select. And the same with the flavour. And pack type. I've got a very tickly throat. Have a drink of coffee, that will sort that out. Average weights. And the pallet temp again. And we'll say that the average bricks was 15.5. Okay, now before I'm going to put some low bricks noted on this pallet. Now before I save, I'm going to add additional data. Okay, so I want bricks data. So I'm going to select my lot number, I'm going to select my pallet number that this refers to, and the grower. And I'm going to put my bricks findings in here. I can use the tab button. Okay, now if I wanted to start a new line, I could, but I just have to reset the the thing. So I'm going to save this. Okay, and you can see that this is automatically saved with that additional information. Now imagine I want to take photographs to attach to this QC. Historically, it's been a case of take photographs on a separate camera, march up to the QC room, take some photographs of the fruit if you can't get the right light in the loading bay, and then transfer them across the computer, upload them, format them, put them into a presentation, save it. It's quite time consuming. So what I've done is just launch a camera, get a very high quality webcam, which this actually isn't. Okay, so basically this is an extremely low resolution one, but you can get some very, very good ones with 12 megapixel, high definition. Got a very wobbly hand holding it at that angle. So basically you can give it a meaningful name, and you can check your picture. If you're happy with it, you can keep it. If you're not happy with it, you can delete it and just go again. But I'm happy with it, and it transfers it to file storage. Okay, now let's go and have a look. We can go into reports. We need to go and have a look at the Cherry report. Now, several things can happen here. You can, where's the reference? That one we just did. We can either export it as Excel. There's only 2 palettes on this, so we choose the normal Excel report. Just with 2 lines, and it's noted that there's low bricks. Okay, and your packaging comments here, who it's checked by, static data up here, and your quality scoring here. Okay. If you have a big Excel report, you can, this one here is up to 34 palette or lot items. This one is more than 34, up to about 60, I think, I'm not at all sure. So once again, exactly the same format, but this one is the extended version. The information is exactly the same, functionality is exactly the same, it's just, you could call this your Vidrio report. Okay. So what other reports do we have? We have a suitability report. This tells us, based on these two arrivals, which customers is suitable for. How does it work out if it's suitable or not? Well, there's another functionality in the edit side where you can set your customers up in advance, entering their minimum required parameters, and if the arrivals meet these minimum required parameters, then it will say yes or no. Okay, and that's on sizing, on colour, on approved variety, on texture, and I think that's about the parameters it works on. Things that basically you can't really grade in the packhouse very easily for. If there's defects in there like splits and pitting, then this doesn't take that into account because it makes the assumption that it's possible to be graded out in the packhouse. So if it took that into account, then obviously it would be working on finished quality parameters rather than starting quality parameters. So this basically looks at the things that can't really be graded for. So you're on to a good start. If it says yes, then basically all you need to do is take the defects out and it will meet spec. You can print this report as is. It comes out like this on an A4 sheet. Images. This is the image we did. You see it auto compiles a report. Okay, and your images would stream in 2 columns down here. You can have 100 images and it would just be like 20 pages of reports. You can print this simply by having a PDF editor like this. Save as PDF. This is a free one. I like it because it works really well. And give it a lot number and save it to your desktop. Okay, and then it's saved as a or save wherever you like. If you want large images, then basically it's a report. It will just enlarge the images, exactly the same. Okay, so that's how you would initially look at your QC reports. But then the good thing about a database is that you can drill down for information, and anybody with access to this screen can immediately look at all the information associated with the QCs. So the QCs may have spent 2 hours doing a QC report on 20 pallets of problematic fruit, only for the QC reports to get scant viewing, and then the questions come up: what's this lot? What this lot like? What's this lot like? When all the information is actually here, so anybody with a screen here can immediately see. So let's have a look at the QC by variety. So we're going to look for a staccato because that's just come in. Okay, and we can see that there is additional information available for this. So I'm going to have a look at the additional information, and it brings up those bricks levels that we took, okay, against that palette. If you want to show the images, then we just get the lot number. Again, copy and paste off the screen is fine. And there's our images. Anybody can see it. And these images aren't stored within the database. They're stored in the file server and brought into a presentation only when you call for them. So there's very little overhead. You can look at palette defects. You can say, this one's got some palette defects. Let's have a look at this. And it will show you the breakdown of these palette defects. This one's got 2% undersize, 1% bruising, and 1% pitting, and it groups them into unacceptable, major and minor categories. So anybody wanting to allot references for a job can have a look and say, yeah, that's not too bad, or no, that's not good enough. You have your overview of the defect levels here, and the bricks, colour, sizing. Okay, you can also export this as Excel. If you want to do a review of staccato arrivals, then you can. If you want to also only look at David Del Curto, you can say equals David Del Curto and it'll only show theirs. Okay, or you can clear it. So you can export it as Excel. If you want an Excel file, it will give you all this information here. Okay, if you want to only export the David Del Curto, one second while I just open this up again. So I've already got a filter running in it at the moment. So if I only want to do this and then export as Excel, it should hopefully only show the David Del Curto ones. So you can drill down quite nicely if you want to do end of season review. Okay, and the filters don't stay in the system. When you open it up again, the filter is closed, is shut, and you have to reset the filter. So there's no chances of accidentally leaving the filter on and wondering where your consignments have gone. You can also search by country of origin. So we're going to go to Chile. This shows you the basic details of what's come in from Chile. Supplier is David Del Curto. Here, these are the lot numbers they've been received in, the arrival dates, and the container numbers here. If I want to look at lot detail, this breaks it down into pallet-wise, defects, colour bricks. Tells you if there's any additional info. Again, you can look at images, you can look at pallet defects, you can export it as Excel. Exactly the same. This functionality is in most reports. By supplier, let's have a look at David Del Curto again. Here's his arrivals. Okay, and look at the lot details. You can see what is sent. Again, you can filter. You can export this to Excel. You can export the filtered version to Excel. You can show images, check for any additional info. You can check for any pallet defects. If you're noting that this one looks particularly high, what are the problems with this pallet? Oh, I can see there's 3% bronzing, 4% scarring, some undersize and some missing stalks. Okay. By quality parameters, you can search by quality parameters if you want to check by bricks. So here you can look for all bricks, which is basically everything that's arrived, or you can start looking at, I only want to see 16 and above. It'll show you 16 and above. Now obviously as the closed pallet, closed lot functionality has been asked to be switched off, you're going to have a huge long list of this within a very short period of time. So what you can do is just look at the last 7 days arrivals. Okay. Again, you can check the pallet defects and show images. By bricks range, this allows you to look at a whole range of bricks. So you're going to say, I want to see between 14 and 16. Oh. Okay, between 14 and 16. Show the last 7 days arrivals. I have to do this again. Okay. Again, check the pallet defects. Again, show the images. If you want to look by defect level, you want to say, well, I will look for really good fruit. This is below 2% defects. If I say, let's have a look, major defects. Let's have a look at this one. Want to see what the problems with this is. 2% internal breakdown, but 1% mould, 2% minor. So we're looking at major defects. We could actually say that this is not really good enough to use. Again, we can show images, export as Excel. We can look at the last 7 days arrivals. And we can do this parameters between 3 and 5%, below 5%, below 10%, above 10%. By sizing, you can say, show me arrivals that are at this size. All of these are have arrived, received at 26, 28 mil. Last 7 days shows what, what's here for the last 7 days. I could change that to 14 days or reduce it down. I thought 7 days because they're more likely to still be on stock. Again, show images, show pallet defects, close, or you can print the, if you just want to print this onto an A4 sheet, you can, or a series of A4 sheets. By customer suitability, basically if you just want to know, show me anything that's good enough for Lidl. Based on your customer setup, these are deemed acceptable for Lidl. Okay, you can check lot quality if you want. You can just look at, take a lot number if you want to know a bit more information, and it gives you the lot quality on this. If you want to show the images, there we are, there's some images I took. Not very cherry-like, but that's fine. I don't have many cherries here. Okay, we can close that. What I want to do now is have a look at the edit function. Now, anywhere where you can add data or edit data or indeed delete data, it's behind a password protected form. So, edit pallet numbers, what does this mean? Well, if you are running ahead of the warehouse guys and obviously you can't load a QC report because they haven't given the pallet a number, then you can quite easily just give them numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on, temporary numbers. Okay, and when they actually come back and put pallet numbers on it, then you can just change the pallet numbers to the actuals. It allows you to keep working. So basically this is behind a supervisor password, and enter a lot number, and this would be perhaps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you could just change it to the actual lot numbers, and this is carried through for all the reports. Now, the way I wrote this is that changing the pallet number from 1 to 108.988-1 doesn't actually change the links. It still follows those particular pallets. All it does is shows a different pallet number. Okay, obviously if you want to look at, before you change this, you'd have to look for pallet 1. Now the only downside of that is if you have six arrivals in one day and they all have pallet numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you say show me pallet 1, it's going to show you pallet 1 of each of the references, which isn't so good. So you could actually use this format as a temporary format. Could either be temporary or permanent. And then when you get your actual pallet numbers, you can revert to putting the correct pallet numbers in. That's how you do that. These two I won't need to talk about because this is a high-level supervisor. This is going into the tables and making fundamental changes. The issue with this is, I'll show you here. Changes made here are not reversible. Okay, this takes you into the background data, and you don't want to mess with that. If you alter something, then basically it could be a linked field and it could break other things. So you've really got to know what you're doing before you start messing around in there. So that would be for pallet level. This would be at supplier level. Customer setup. Now you saw that we can do suitability reports for different customers. This is how we would do that. Again, behind a supervisor password. Marks and Spencer's bags, we would put the minimum bricks in here that they want for any variety. We could put the minimum texture, minimum colour and minimum size. And we do this for all of our customers, okay, on their cherries. Now on sizing, punnets are, if you put in here 24-26, it only looks for 24-26 mil fruit, okay? It doesn't look for 28-30, blah, blah, blah. It'll only look for what's appropriate for punnets. However, with bags, if you put 28-30 in there as a minimum size, it'll look for 28, 30, 32, 34, okay? If you want to add a new customer, you would just overwrite this unreserved with the customer's name, identify what type of packet the specification is, and the new name will come along here and you can set the parameters. So varieties, again, we don't want just anybody going in and changing things, so it's behind a supervisor password. Here we can select varieties. You've got the option to be able to select or clear all of them to give you a clean start, or select all to make it easier and just discount the ones that are not approved. It's entirely up to you. I'll put Tesco. I know we don't supply Tesco directly, but it was just something I did. I can change that for another customer in the future if necessary. So there's a lot of varieties here. It's a great big long list of varieties that you may or may never see. Okay. So to make it easier, I've condensed it by using the most used. So this then only shows the more popular varieties that we receive. Obviously you can add a new variety as popular, and then it comes in. Okay. If you want to add a new variety, if there is such a thing, you would just add a new variety in here, save and close, and next time you open the, you'd have to save and close and open again, and then the new variety will come onto the list, and you can deal with it as you wish. So that's that. Edit images. Okay, again, behind a supervisor password. Okay, this gives you the option to change the description, okay, or to delete the whole thing. Don't change this to another number because it will just pick up on another QC report, okay? So you can delete here by just highlighting then pressing delete, or you can change the description. If you delete the link, it doesn't delete the photo. All it does is deletes the link to the photo, and it won't show up in any reports. So if you suddenly decide you don't like that photo, instead of going to the trouble of detecting it, finding it and deleting it, and then having a link that's saying, hey, where's my picture gone? Okay, you just delete this part and it doesn't go looking for the picture, and your report compiles properly. Okay. Quality review. Behind a user password, enter your lot number. So this shows you the information you put at arrival. Okay. When you're doing your quality review and you stop your trolley at a pallet and you look up at your pallet and you see the lot number, you put it in and it brings you this information, and you can look for all the pallets that are on this lot number. Okay. If there is some movement if there's some movement on the quality, these are defects that are progressive. I haven't bothered with things that are not progressive on here because they should have been picked up at intake. But you can say this is breaking down, this is increasing, blah 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 blah. Okay. And once you do that, if you make any changes, or even if you don't make any changes, you can say review again in so many days, okay, and put today's review date in, okay, and then that will go into the messages and it will reset the review again prompts. If you want to add more pictures, again exactly the same as before, you would just add pictures against this lot number, or against this pallet number. It actually goes against the lot number, not the pallets. So you could launch your camera exactly the same as on intake, take the pictures, give a description, and it adds to the list. Okay, and you can add extra data here as well. Okay, if you want to do more checks. If you've done your QC report and then somebody says, can you go and get me some more bricks checks on it, then this is the way you do it. You go into here, you do your bricks, add extra data, and this adds it to the report afterwards. Or if somebody says, can you get me some more photos, again you come into here, you get the lot number in, you launch your camera and you snap away taking more pictures. Okay, and you just move through your palettes. Okay, so that's how you do quality review. Okay, these four buttons here. This one here is just to close the whole database. This one here is a handy user manual which goes through everything that I've been talking about. Set date ranges. Now, clicking this brings up this form. If you adjust this, it will only show reports received after this date. So if you've got lots of redundant information that you don't need to see on a daily basis, then you can just say, okay, only show me arrivals in the last 14 days, if that's basically how quickly you're clearing your arrivals up, or the last 21 days, and it will only show 21 days of arrivals. If you want to do a season's review, then you just backdate this to the start of the season. It will show all the arrivals, and you can go in and print off your Excel reports and pull your data as how you want. Okay. Messages. This tells you, based on arrival dates and quality review dates, when lots are coming up for quality review. Obviously, this is old data now. I just want to show it to you as how it will show. Obviously, this is also affected by setting the date range. What I did have was closed lots and closed pallets, so basically as soon as a lot was closed, this will become more relevant, but you'll just have to deal with this now because we don't close lots. Okay, so as soon as here's your arrival date, the first review date is defaulted to 7 days. This one was undertaken on the 9th, and we said give it an extra 4 days, and we would like to think that this has all been used up by that. So basically, it prompts you to go and look at specific arrivals after a set period of time. This also shows in the some of the reports when the fruit was last reviewed. And that is about that. Thank you very much.